My best friend was going on a date with her boyfriend and insisted on dragging me along as the third wheel. Great, just great. The three of us got swept up at a bar by the vice squad. My best friend stared in horror at the captain walking toward us. "Oh, crap! That's my brother!" She shoved her bleached blonde boyfriend toward me, then gave her brother a nervous smile. "Jason." Isabel dragged me along on her date with her boyfriend. The man looked at me. I tilted my chin up, studying the ceiling. Later that night, his presence closed in around me. He dug his fingers into my waist in petty revenge. "Baby, besides me, you've got other boyfriends now?" When Kristen shoved her blonde boyfriend to my side, I was stunned. By the time I came to, a tall man was already standing in front of me, towering, well-built, with a face straight out of a counter-terrorism unit and a commanding aura. I looked up at him, then at Kristen. Kristen kept winking hard at me, then hurried over to beam at her brother. "Jason, we're all law-abiding citizens." Jason shot her a look, like I wouldn't know whether you are. He lifted his chin at the blonde kid who was already petrified. "Who's he?" Before I could speak, Kristen blurted, "Him? He's Isabel's new boyfriend." Can you believe it? Those two have to drag me along whenever they go out. Slander. Absolute slander. That blonde guy is her boyfriend. Both of Kristen's parents are longtime officials, and her brother joined the police after graduating from the academy. The whole family is squeaky clean and old school, so they keep Kristen on a tight leash. They've set rules for her since she was a kid. I always felt a little intimidated visiting their place, but clamp down too hard, and the kid rebels. At 24, Kristen started pushing back. Once she got a whim to try smoking, bought a pack, and came to my place to make me try it with her. I had no idea what I was doing, just held it awkwardly for ages right when her brother showed up to take her home. 11. Start Kristen got so scared, she shoved her cigarette into my hand. I ended up with one between each finger, staring at her brother. What did I say back then? Oh, right. That I had a serious nicotine habit. And as for boyfriends, I liked the unconventional type, wouldn't even tell my family. Hiding things like it was an affair. Rebellious, but not fully. She'd made me take the fall more than a few times. Today made one more. After hearing Kristen, Jason's gaze slid over to me. Inside, I was mentally screaming every curse word I knew. What Kristen didn't know was that I couldn't take the fall today, because the man standing in front of me was my actual boyfriend. Yep, I'm dating Kristen's brother. She has no idea. She was still behind me, winking so hard her eye was about to cramp. I didn't sell her out, but I didn't answer either. I just dodged Jason's eyes and stared up at the ceiling. Thankfully, the agony didn't last. Someone ran over. "Captain, we've got them all." Jason said. "I'm on my way." Before he left, he glanced at Kristen. "Go home. Now." Kristen bobbed her head like a pecking chick. Jason looked at me again, his eyes unreadable. Who knew that respectable-looking bar offered those kinds of services? When the vice squad cleaned house, we got caught in the crossfire. After we each gave our statements, it was almost 10 when we came out. Kristen hailed a cab for me. "Isabel, you go home first. I've got something to take care of." I blinked. "What?" Her eyes flashed. "Breaking up." The jerk couldn't even talk when he saw the vice squad. He even tried to hide behind "you wouldn't dare meet my brother's eyes." What good is he? She slammed the door and stormed off to find the blonde. I sat in the cab, all mixed up. Honestly, you couldn't blame the blonde entirely. With her brother's killer stare, who would dare look him in the eye? When I got home, I washed up and curled on the couch to watch TV. I'm a night owl, and I wasn't sleepy yet. I kept binging variety shows and lost track of time until the doorbell rang. I jolted, checked my phone as I walked to the door. Almost 1 a.m. I peered through the peephole and got a face full of handsome. Jason. I opened the door and he came straight in. "Off work?" "Yeah. Where's Kristen?" "I took her home." Then he told his unit he had more work and came to me instead. I started for the kitchen to pour him some water. but he caught my hand and gently pulled me into his arms. I've always thought Jason runs a little hotter than most people. Right now, his palm on my waist was scorching, and the air itself felt warmer. Isabel, how come I didn't know you had another boyfriend besides me? I turned my head to speak, but Jason just kissed me hard and urgent. He kept pressing in. I backed up until the sofa cut off any retreat. He didn't seem inclined to stop. He hooked an arm around my waist and took me down onto the couch with him. Slightly breathless, he lifted his head to look at me. So you like blonde pretty boys. I can dye mine. My focus was off. Are you even allowed to dye your hair on the job? His hand at my waist tightened a fraction. I let out a stifled gasp at the petty squeeze. Jason brushed a kiss against my earlobe. Baby, your taste is slipping. That guy did not look like much. I glared at him, cheeks burning, top of his police class, and a master at reading people. Of course he could tell I was just the shield his sister shoved forward. Now he was using it as an excuse to tease me. Noticing my look, Jason chuckled against me, then covered my eyes with his palm and kissed me softly. Me ending up with Jason felt more like an accident. He's 3 years older than Kristen and me. When we were little, Kristen was scared of him, which meant I was, too. The summer after freshman year, I went to hang out with Kristen and ran into Jason by the elevator. He was coming back from playing ball. It was just the two of us in that elevator. And wouldn't you know it, the thing broke and dropped a few floors. I yelped and crouched on the ground. Jason wasn't that old then either, but he was calm. He punched all the buttons, then hit the emergency call. Once he knew help was on the way, he seemed to remember there was a me, already crying, stuck with him. I remember that day clearly, because Jason, for once, wasn't stern or scary. He crouched in front of me and talked me down. He clumsily dabbed my tears with tissues and even sang to me. From that day on, my impression of him shifted. After that, I found excuses to visit Kristen, and quietly, to see what Jason was up to. Besides basketball, what else did he like? I wanted to know him. That summer, I spent more time at her place than my own. Then one day it hit me. I might be catching feelings, and I had no idea what to do with that. I never dared tell Kristen. We used to gossip about her brother together, and I was afraid she'd call me a traitor. So I kept my feelings buried deep. Until junior year of college, I was lost in memory, when a sharp sting landed on my lips. I frowned at the man before me. Jason rubbed my chin. What's got you so distracted? I'm not distracted. I bit his lip back in revenge. Just think you're moving too slow. His eyes darkened, and his long fingers flicked open one of my buttons. He was about to go further when my doorbell rang. A voice both Jason and I knew all too well came through. Isabel, open up. It's me, Kristen. She breezed in, made a beeline for my bedroom, and flopped spread eagle on my bed. I called you, why didn't you pick up? I scratched my head. Phone was on silent. Ugh, my brother's not home. My parents are traveling. I'm bored out of my mind. I'm sleeping here. She kicked her legs. The bed squeaked. My heart raced, worried about the man currently hiding under that bed. Jason never really bothered hiding our relationship, but I did. I wanted to ease Kristen into it, not have her stumble on us like catching cheaters. Why's your face so red? You hot? She asked. Nope. I forced a smile. Just finished working out. So disciplined, girl, Kristen muttered, then turned suddenly. Oh, by the way, your ex just got back from overseas. You know? I froze, instinctively glancing under the bed. Kristen frowned. What are you looking under there for? Something hiding? She started to bend down, but I shoved her back up. Who did you say came back? Steve. Duh. Your ex. Kristen squinted at me. Bet you still have feelings for him. You two broke up so tragically. For the love of God, stop. I yanked a set of pajamas from the closet and tossed them at her. You haven't showered, have you? I just changed my sheets. Go shower first. Kristen pouted. You're kicking me out? I just wanted to lie here and chat. I pulled her up and practically shoved her into the bathroom. As the water started running, the man under the bed silently slid out. He dusted himself off, frowning. He didn't look happy. Before he could speak, I dragged him out of the bedroom and straight to the door. Jason murmured, "Didn't you say I was your first love?" "I'll explain later." He caught the doorframe. "You planning to spend all night reminiscing with Kristen about your tragic ex?" I said, "Later." I pried his hand off and shut the door with an apologetic thud. When Kristen came out of the bathroom, she frowned. Weird. Isabel. I could have sworn I heard my brother's voice. Damn girl and her ears. No wonder she beat me in the English listening exam. By 2:30 in the morning, I finally crawled into bed. Kristen lay beside me, eyes gleaming with gossip. "So, you think you and Steve will get back together?" "No." I was firm. "Why not?" "Because I already have a boyfriend. He was literally here just now." I hesitated, then whispered, "I'm seeing someone." Kristen blinked, then burst out laughing, pounding the mattress. "Ha ha ha! Girl, you suck at lying. Like I wouldn't know if you had a man around? There are no guys in your life. Well, except my brother." Her tone flipped. "But you and him? Impossible." I looked at her. "Why?" Kristen leaned in, all mysterious. "Because my brother's gay." "What?" My eyes went wide. Kristen nodded. "No hard proof. But come on. What straight guy stays single for 26 years with zero interest in women?" I warned kindly. "Don't you dare say that to him. Because Jason really might kill her." Honestly, I didn't think much about Steve being back. A few days later, I'd nearly forgotten. But Monday at work, my boss asked me to meet a client. The moment I stepped into the conference room, I froze. Someone I never thought I'd see again was standing right there. Steve, suit and tie, rose, and offered me his hand with a gentle smile. "Long time no see, Isabel." Unlike most exes who turn into enemies, our meeting was calm. Kristen was right. Our breakup had been bittersweet. Steve and I went to the same high school, then the same university. Freshman year, he confessed. I hadn't been looking for anything, but campus life was dull, and I wanted a relationship, so I said yes on impulse. He came from money, a rich kid, but without the attitude. He was easygoing, knew things I didn't, and introduced me to new experiences. The only shadow was his health, a congenital heart condition. Junior year, he went abroad as an exchange student and had surgery there. No return date. After 6 months of long distance, we broke it off peacefully. Kristen always sighed about it. She used to say if Steve had been healthy, we'd have been the most enviable couple alive. I never agreed out loud. After the breakup, I wasn't devastated. More than anything, I was grateful. He taught me a lot, helped me grow. Seeing him in that conference room, I was stunned. "Long time no see." I smiled. When I learned he'd had surgery and fully recovered, I was genuinely happy for him. We exchanged a few pleasantries. Then he checked his watch. "Let's have lunch. We should discuss your company's project more in depth." Fair enough, both personally and professionally. "Sure," I agreed. "Welcome back. Lunch is on me." We picked a quiet little bistro. We'd barely sat down when the door opened again. I glanced over and froze. Jason? What the hell was he doing here? Damn it. I still owed him an explanation about Steve. But work had kept me so busy I'd forgotten. And with Jason's job, he often disappeared for days without contact, which meant this was the first time I'd seen him since that night. Jason looked up and saw me too, clearly surprised. I was about to go over when I noticed a strange woman walking in right behind him. My mind went blank. For some reason, I sat back down. Right then, my phone buzzed with a stream of texts from Kristen. I was wrong. My brother's not gay. He actually agreed to go on a blind date my mum set up. What the hell? Blind date. I turned to glance at the pair seated at the table beside us, my face sinking. The waiter came over and handed Steve the menu. "Mr. Steve, as our premium member, would you and your girlfriend like to dine on the second-floor terrace?" Steve smiled. "No, thank you." He didn't correct the waiter's words. Meanwhile, I kept sneaking glances at the table next to us, too distracted to respond. That was when I noticed, after hearing Steve's name, Jason's expression across the way darkened. I barely tasted the meal, split between talking to Steve and stealing looks at Jason and his date. As expected, you can't do two things at once. I barely heard a word Steve was saying. Then suddenly he brought up the past. Going abroad back then wasn't really my choice, but it's all behind me now. Isabel, these years, I've actually always... He was cut off mid-sentence by Jason. "Excuse me, are you done with this menu?" Steve froze, then politely handed it over. Regaining his calm, he continued, "I never met anyone I liked while I was away. A big part of why I came back is because of you. Isabel, Again, he was interrupted, this time by Jason's voice. "Sorry, are we talking too loud over here? Hope we're not bothering you." Even Steve, with all his patience, looked irritated. And me? I thought Jason had completely lost it. I couldn't help snapping. Interrupting someone mid-sentence is rude. I had a good guess what Steve was about to say. But I needed him to finish so I could turn him down properly. Jason looked at me, face unreadable. "Listening to your ex confess in front of your boyfriend is also rude," he said. "Who the hell was he to talk?" I glared back. "And you going on a blind date in front of your girlfriend, that's polite?" He sighed, rubbing his forehead. "Who said I was?" "Don't worry about who told me. I wasn't about to sell out Kristen." Steve looked confused by this stranger barging in. Hesitant, he asked, "Isabel, this is?" I turned my head away, refusing to look at Jason. But under my breath I muttered, "Don't know him." "Don't know me?" Jason's smile was razor thin. "That's right. Don't know you." At that moment, the woman with him returned from the restroom. She frowned. "Captain Jason? Is this someone you know?" Jason smoothly handed her a napkin. "No, I made a mistake." "Made a mistake?" I kept a calm face, but I was grinding my molars to dust. The woman checked her watch. "Captain Jason, it's getting late. I should go." He stood. "I'll walk you out." "Oh, how considerate." Steve, sensing the tension, wisely dropped the small talk. We switched to business talk, and just like that the air cleared. Work talk was so much easier. The whole evening passed, and Jason never once called. Fine. So he wanted to play Cold War? Bring it on. Who's afraid? Right then, Kristen called. The second I picked up, I was blasted with her shrill outrage. "Isabel, I'm telling you, my brother, no. Jason is absolutely insane." "Yes, crazy," I agreed instantly. Kristen paused. "Huh? He pissed you off too?" "No. Keep going." He came home with that sour face, then went tattling to my parents about my blonde boyfriend. I got lectured for half an hour. What did I ever do to deserve this? "Isabel, my life is so hard." I stayed silent. I figured she might have outed herself as my informant. I soothed her with a few choice curses about Jason, and she perked right back up. I'd already decided if Jason was going to ignore me, then I'd ignore him. But the very next day, less than 24 hours after that restaurant scene, I got summoned to the station for a chat. You couldn't script drama like this. Back in my reckless youth, I'd written a few trashy little stories about the flower market. I'd long since quit that game. But somehow, those stories stayed hot online. Recently, some shady distributor there got in trouble and tried to clear their name by blaming the author, claiming the author was printing their own books. And now here I was, regretting every life choice. I'd never even been inside a police station before. And my first time was over this? My leg bounced nervously. Then the door opened. I didn't dare look up, just sneaked a glance. long legs, well proportioned. My gaze crept upward, and when I recognized the face, my whole body locked up. My eyes darted everywhere. Where was a hole to crawl into when you needed one? Jason strolled in with a file. Calm as ever, he sat across from me, flipped it open, and looked up once. Isabel. Quite the talent. Huh. Heaven's hottest tease, that pen name yours. My head dropped. Yeah. And this one? My rough and tumble husband can't stop spoiling me, that's yours too? My head sank lower, voice barely a whisper. Yeah. That had once been my proudest piece. The rustle of paper filled the room. To me, it was torture, because only I knew just how embarrassing that writing was. And I had no idea what page he was on right now. Well, the male lead's name is Jason. The moment he said it, lightning struck through my brain, frying me inside out. I'd forgotten. To indulge my petty little kink, I'd named every male lead Jason. And now, the real Jason was reading it. Kill me now. Of course, he was absorbed, lips twitching at the corners before he forced them down. His voice carried a trace of laughter. 7 times a night? Jason's that good? Was he trying to annihilate my dignity? And what was with that smug look? By the time I left the station, I wasn't even myself anymore. My entire reputation was gone. Jason trailed after me. Isabel, he called. I didn't stop. Isabel. I walked faster, hands clamped over my ears, ready to bolt, but he caught up in just a few strides and grabbed my wrist, forcing me to a halt. I'm coming over tonight, he said. I froze, blushing as I glared at him. What? You think my place is some casual hookup spot? Just because I write trashy stuff doesn't mean I am trashy, Jason chuckled. Relax. I just want to explain about what happened at the restaurant. He pressed his lips together, a little uncertain. I didn't reach out yesterday because I thought you might still be mad. If I pushed you again, it could have been disastrous, especially with that ex of yours lurking around. What I said about mistaking you for someone else, it was just in the heat of the moment. I'm sorry. I stared at him in silence. I wasn't on a blind date. I'll explain everything tonight. Okay? Jason bent down, hooked his fingers around mine, almost like he was coaxing me. He rarely acted like this in front of me, and shamefully, his little move made my heart itch. I coughed to cover it up. Captain Jason, mind your public image. Jason laughed. All right, I'll mind my image. He glanced at his watch, then around to check if any colleagues were nearby. While I was still wondering, he leaned over lightning fast and pecked my cheek. Settled then. I'm coming over tonight. He couldn't linger, so he said it quickly and jogged off. At 10 that night, my doorbell rang. I opened the door to see Jason leaning lazily against the hallway wall. When he spotted me, he grinned. See? I knew you wouldn't have the heart to keep me out. A whiff of alcohol hit my nose, and I frowned. You've been drinking? Jason nodded. Day off tomorrow. Had a few with the guys. I hesitated, should I let him in? Because drunk Jason and sober Jason were 2 completely different people. Around Kristen and the others, drunk Jason just got quieter, slower. But with me, his girlfriend, drunk Jason turned, clingy. Before I could decide, he was already pulling me inside. He shut the door with one hand and buried his face in my neck. Isabel, that woman you saw me eating with at the restaurant, she wasn't a blind date. She's my colleague's widow. She's remarrying soon, but was still struggling inside, so she asked me to talk. The word widow made my chest tighten. Isabel, don't be mad. And don't brush me off in front of your ex. That stung. Guilt washed over me. I patted his back in a rush. I'm not mad. Don't be upset. And I owe you an apology too. About Steve, I should have told you. We've been done for ages, and nothing's ever happening again. You don't need to worry. And when I said you were my first love, I wasn't lying. I paused. Really, I wasn't. After all, your first crush still counts as a first love. A secret teenage crush. Thankfully, Jason was drunk enough to be a little slow. not sharp enough to catch the loopholes in my words. The topic slid by until he blindsided me. His arm stayed tight around my waist. Then he asked, "Isabel, when you wrote those stories, were you picturing me?" Heat exploded across my face and ears. I nearly ground my teeth. "If you don't want me to throw you out, drop it." Jason was shameless, pressing a kiss to my ear. 7 times a night, huh? You sure give me credit." I was about to explode when he added, "But if it's you, maybe I could manage. Want to test it, Isabel?" That time, I was the slow one. Before I could answer, he scooped me up. Panicked, I clung to his neck, only to catch the smirk tugging at his lips. That bastard did it on purpose! Maybe it was the booze. Or maybe he remembered I had work tomorrow. But Jason didn't hit the 7 times a night record. Still, 5 was plenty. Not every man could measure up to one of my trashy heroes. The next morning when I got up for work, Jason was still asleep. I tiptoed over, watching his peaceful face, and couldn't resist leaning down to kiss him. But before I could pull away, his eyes cracked open. He caught my hand, voice husky. "I'll pick you up after work tonight." I smiled. Okay. That evening, the moment I stepped out of the office, I spotted Jason waiting at the door. He looked fresh, in a plain shirt and jeans, but wore them well. He took my bag and walked me through the shopping district. We hadn't gone out together in ages, so we were both giddy with excitement. Neither of us noticed the figure behind us, staring in shock. Kristen thought she was hallucinating. That guy in front looked way too much like her brother. And what was her brother doing? Carrying a girl's bag, gently wiping ice cream off her cheek with a tissue, all with a soft look in his eyes. No way! Kristen was floored. She hadn't seen the girl's face. But that didn't stop her world from crashing down. She could hardly wait to tell her best friend. She whipped out her phone and started typing. "OMG, my brother's in love! He's actually dating someone! This is insane. Who on earth managed to land him? Girl, where are you? Why aren't you answering?" "Forget it. I can't wait. I'm tailing them. I've got to see who this girl is." "I'll spill everything later." Kristen shoved her phone into her bag and looked up, only to panic. Gone. Both her brother and the mystery girlfriend had vanished. She rushed forward, frantically searching through the crowded shopping street. I was standing there waiting for Jason to come back with milk tea when someone tapped my shoulder. I thought it was him, so I turned with a smile and froze. Kristen, out of breath. "Holy crap, it really is you. Out shopping and you didn't invite me? Rude." She glanced around while talking. "Did you see my messages?" My brain finally caught up. She sent me messages? No way I saw them. The phone was in my bag, and the bag was hanging off her brother's shoulder. "Hey, did you see a woman around here?" Kristen leaned in, all mysterious. "I'm looking for a girl." "What girl?" I asked, automatically. She thought for a moment. "Long hair, about as long as yours. Wearing a yellow hoodie and jeans. Kinda like what you're wearing today." She fell silent, her gaze growing complicated. "Isabel, you." Before she could finish, Jason emerged from the milk tea shop. Kristen froze, staring stiffly at her brother. The brother she remembered as grim and terrifying was now smiling softly, carrying 2 cups of milk tea, her pink bag slung over his shoulder, and a pair of silly devil horns perched on his head. Kristen honestly wondered if she was dreaming, and if so, it was a really ridiculous one. "Ha ha ha! My brother's actually dating my best friend?" Kristen glanced between me and Jason, then rolled her eyes so hard she nearly fainted. Jason and I hurried to catch her from either side, then exchanged a look. Clearly, the shopping trip was over. That night at my place, Jason and I sat on opposite ends of the sofa, while Kristen dragged over a chair to sit across from us, like she was interrogating suspects. She even had a soapbox in hand, banging it like a gavel. "Speak. How long has this been going on?" I whispered. "1.5 years. 1.5 years? Kristen gaped. "You two dated right under my nose for 1.5 years and I never noticed?" What use are these eyes of mine? I should just gouge them out. I quickly grabbed her hand. Don't! She shook me off and glared. I'm not finished. Sit back down. I sat obediently. Kristen cleared her throat. How far have you gone? I sneaked a glance at Jason, but stayed silent. Jason frowned. Kristen, that's none of your business. Hearing that, Kristen instantly understood. She snatched up a pillow and smacked her brother over the head. My family's best cabbage gets trampled by a pig, and I can't ask questions? Jason, the pig in question, sat stone-faced. Kristen took a deep breath and turned serious. One last question. You answer. Are you really serious about Isabel? When are you planning to marry her? Jason shifted, looking a bit nervous. His fingers rubbed together unconsciously. My heart thudded as I stared. Of course I'm serious. As he spoke, Jason slowly pulled a ring box from his pocket. Kristen? Jason opened it, took out the ring, and slipped it gently onto my finger. Actually, I was planning to propose today. My chest trembled. Before I could react, Kristen snatched the ring off and shoved it back at him, fuming. What kind of idiot proposes like that? Go study up and do it properly! Without another word, Kristen shoved and dragged Jason right out of my apartment. Finally, it was just the two of us inside. I walked toward her, uneasy. She had her back to me, and when I circled around, I saw her eyes were red. My chest ached too. Kristen, I'm sorry. I never meant to hide this from you. I kept waiting for the right moment, but I hesitated and dragged it out until now. She huffed, turning away. So I'm not really your best friend after all. Of course you are. I grabbed her hand. That's exactly why I was scared to tell you. I was afraid my relationship with Jason would come between us. Of course it has, she said bitterly. You were my best friend, and now you're trying to be my sister-in-law. I didn't know what to say. Frozen in place. Then she added, not that it's impossible. If you marry into my family, you won't have any mother-in-law issues. My mom's easy to get along with, and you won't have a nasty sister-in-law either. After all, you and I are inseparable. Plus, once you're in the family, I'll be free to openly rebel against my brother with you backing me up. Really, the sooner you marry in, the more benefits for me. My jaw dropped at her self-serving logic. Her mood had flipped too fast. Still, it was a relief. I hugged her with teary eyes. I knew you were the best. Cut it out. Kristen shoved her phone at me. My brother bought me that bag I've been wanting, so he's not completely hopeless. Now spill it. I blinked. Spill what? How you two even got together? Truth was, it was a long story. Once I realized I had feelings for him, I tried hard to suppress them. I even dated someone else in college, just to prove it to myself. But seeing Jason again, my heart still raced. In junior year, about 6 months after Steve and I broke up, I ran into Jason in the city. I was a mess back then. During summer break, I worked odd jobs. Too naive. I got tricked into wearing a suffocating mascot suit in the blazing heat to hand out flyers. Halfway through, I passed out from heat stroke. Jason and his squad happened to be training nearby. They carried me to shade, and Jason pulled off the giant headpiece. He recognized me instantly. Isabel? Jason? You know her? Yeah. I heard him say, she's my little sister's friend. I've known her since she was a kid. What? The age gap wasn't even that big. But I had no strength to argue, barely able to speak. Jason took me to the hospital, paid the bill, and stayed with me the whole time. He didn't leave until I came around. I thanked him. And what did he say? That since I was his sister's best friend, I was like a sister to him, so helping me was only natural. Hearing that, I felt anything but happy. All I could do was mechanically thank him again. After that, we added each other on WeChat. And from then on, our contact grew closer and closer. I'd scroll through his posts, carefully searching for shared interests. On holidays, I'd send mass greetings that were really just for him. When he replied, I'd glow with secret joy before pretending to be casual and starting a chat. Sometimes, I'd even subtly pry into his love life. By the time those feelings grew too strong to hide, I realized I was already in deep. After college, I returned to my hometown, partly because Kristen was there, and partly because her brother was. Remembering this, I turned to Kristen. You actually helped me and your brother get together. Kristen gave me a baffled old man, reading phone face. Me? Yep. She'd unknowingly played matchmaker. Her company once gave out Perk's 2 movie tickets. We'd planned to go together, but at the last minute, she had an emergency and bailed. Not wanting to waste them, she dragged her brother along instead. So, Jason and I went to a movie together for the first time. I don't remember the plot at all, only that my attention stayed on the man beside me. By the end, when the hero chased after love, my own reckless courage surged. The moment we left the theater, I confessed. What? Kristen shot upright. And it worked? Nope, I sighed. Your brother's hard to win over, Kristen scoffed. Please. Anyone who'd turn you down clearly has no taste. She only dared talk trash about her brother behind his back. It had been a tough chase, but I'd grown thicker skin, pushing forward until I finally won him over. I finished my reminiscing, turned and found Kristen already asleep. Asleep, but still muttering complaints about her brother. No taste, stupid Jason, stealing my best friend. Steve didn't stay long after returning to the country. Before leaving again, he asked to see me at the same restaurant as last time. This time, he finally finished the words Jason had interrupted. I smiled and showed him the ring on my finger. I'm engaged. I know, Steve said with a gentle smile. I saw it the moment you walked in. It looks good on you. I just wanted to tie up some loose ends today. He hesitated, then asked, Your fiancé. He's the man who sat at the next table that day, right? When I nodded, realization dawned. No wonder he was so hostile toward me. Sometimes, men's instincts really were sharp. He still remembered the daggers Jason had been shooting at him. We didn't linger over the meal. Steve had a flight to catch. Outside, he opened his car door. Let me drive you home. I looked across the street. No need. My fiancé's here. Steve followed my gaze. Jason stood tall across the road, cutting a striking figure even in the crowd. Steve chuckled, slipped into his car, and drove off without fuss. Jason crossed over and instinctively took my hand. All done? What did he say? Curious, are you? Not really. Just asking. After a few seconds of silence, he pressed again. So what did he say? Not telling you. He confessed, didn't he? Not telling you. Wait, he actually confessed? I laughed, shook off his hand, and ran ahead. Jason chased after me through the throng, and as the crowd swallowed us up, the future stretched wide open. Everyone would find their own happiness. I had mine. I hoped he did too.